Hi, I'm your host, CrackedRack. I need to mention that I am not normally a movie reviewer by any means. This isn't my forte at all, however, I'm comedically reviewing this movie because it happens to be on a case that I've made quite a bit of content on. So if you didn't know, recently there was a movie released by Lifetime, the worst movie producers of all time, about the unbelievably well-known Chris Watts case. This movie is absurdly disrespectful for a multitude of reasons, and so I figured I'd just go through the film with you guys and laugh at how atrocious it is. I need to mention first off, though, that I am in no way making fun of the Chris Watts case or downplaying the seriousness of it. Just making fun of this horrible cash grab. Seriously, this may be the worst movie of 2020 easily. I don't see how it could be topped. So this movie is essentially just an atrocious recreation of the very public and well-known body cam videos of Chris Watts freaking out because the cops are investigating him. However, what this film does is in between those public recordings of what happened, they essentially fill in the blanks with their own awful fictional recreation of events. And it overall just feels like a disturbing fetishization of the case, but it's not even done well.
Do you intend to answer truthfully? Chris.
The editing is some of the worst I've ever seen. None of the actors look at all like their real-life counterparts, and the acting is hilariously awful.
Would I lie to you? Would I lie to you?
So anyway, without further ado, let's get into the film. And don't get used to me reviewing movies because this is a very rare exception. So anyway, the film starts with a very cheesy and poorly filmed sequence showing Chris's daughters running around and playing in a field, which just seems like a really cheap way to start this film considering this shot is just too easy. Yeah, we get it. Chris had daughters and then he killed them. What's this movie's point? It then cuts to one of the ugliest logos I've ever seen for anything. For some reason, his last name is upside down, so it says Sitam, and it looks like his name was crafted out of salami. It then cuts to Chris in the interrogation room, which is trying to recreate his real-life interrogation. The problem is the movie's recreation looks like a bad SNL skit. It also doesn't make any sense as to why the movie felt the need to recreate something that anyone can view the real-life version of easily on YouTube. So, the Chris in this film looks less like a nervous murderer and more like a computer nerd who's been popping pills all day. Throughout this whole film, he's just casually like, I don't know what happened, I didn't do anything, murder. This film also incorporates a lot of awful vlogging sequences from Shanann. Now, I know Shanann did do vlogs on Facebook Live and stuff, but those were for family or for people interested in the products Shanann sold. They were humble and poorly made little vlogs, because that's all they were supposed to be. However, in this film, they make Shanann seem like frickin' Zoella. Anyway, Chris comes downstairs in his house only to get confronted by Shanann with a pregnancy test. I'd imagine and hope that it was more of a tense moment for them than this. The two then go out on a really awkward date with one another. Then, right after, this film showcases its worst issue, the sex scenes. There are so many sex scenes in this stupid film. It is not appropriate under any circumstances to have visualized sex scenes of an actual mother that was just alive 2 years ago. Yeah, I'm sure Shanann would be thrilled with this sequence. So anyway, a few days go by and Shanann is taking the kids and herself to her relative's house in North Carolina for a few weeks and leaving Chris alone to his own devices. So it cuts to Chris watching porn when he decides he's going to call up a girl who flirted with him at work named Nicole, based off of the real-life mistress of Chris Watts, Nicole Kissinger. The next 20 minutes of this film, that's only an hour long, mind you, is literally just a compilation of Chris having sex with Nicole while Shanann gets pissed off trying to contact him. I really don't understand the point of this film. We know what's going to happen at the end. Watching Shanann just be in discomfort while getting abused for an hour is not entertaining at all. It's uncomfortable and it just makes me want the movie to end. 40 minutes into the film, yes, 40 minutes of an hour and 10 minutes of this film's length, we finally get some real progression. Shanann comes back and Chris takes her and the kids to the beach, where Shanann vlogs like Zoella again until Chris finally admits to her that he's having mixed feelings about their relationship. This scene is acted especially poorly.
Like, a lot of responsibility, right?
If you're done, I need to know.
So cut to a few days later, it's insinuated that Shanann and her kids have already been killed, and the movie is now doing a very, very bad recreation of the also famously public police body cam footage of Chris. Again, why did they spend time making this? It adds nothing to the case, insight-wise or even visually. It's just a bad recreation of the real thing. Oh yeah, something funny about this film, they constantly reuse this stupid footage of Chris Watts taking a pill and then downing this weird white sludge. They reuse it so much it just becomes comedic, even when the scene's supposed to be super serious. So anyway, the next, 15 minutes of this atrocity is spent in the interrogation room with horrible acting. Like I said, it's just a terrible recreation of the real tapes. But wait, we have 10 minutes left of this film, and we get to see what happened the night Chris Watts did what he did. So Shanann comes home in the middle of the night and immediately tries engaging in intercourse with Chris. Very classy movie, you obviously know how to respect dead people's boundaries. Chris afterwards gets dressed, gets on top of Shanann, and then starts yelling at her about the sex they just had and how it didn't feel right. And then he finally decides it's time to kill Shanann by lightly and very fakely wrapping his hands around her throat for less than 30 seconds until Shanann dies. I don't think this is what happened. The movie then ends with a one-liner. Yes, this movie about a real-life murder that happened like 2 years ago ends with a one-liner.
Well, we got the truth.
You are insufferable. So yeah, that was Chris Watts, Confessions of a Killer. It's not the worst movie I've ever seen in my life, but it's definitely the worst film of 2020. Lifetime, what are you doing? Why are you airing this film and promoting it as if it's good? Is this really what you want your legacy to be? An hour-long torture porn about these real people that died 2 years ago? I think the person I feel the worst for in this whole project is Sean Clear, plays Chris in the film. His career has just been destroyed, are you kidding me? He's gonna be seen as Chris Watts for the rest of his life. Even when he's completely out of character, he looks exactly like Chris. Overall, this film's in incredibly poor taste, and I can't even believe it actually airs on TV. Just more proof that YouTube is definitely going to kill TV off completely in the next 10 years.